first federal grants office hours. Today's topic will be federal capers and disposition requirements. We hope to bring this to y'all every single month, the last Thursday of the month. We will continue to bring this opportunity for agencies to ask questions and also to get clarification on the regulations as long as we see there's a need. During COVID and the new funds that came down, HUD had provided more guidance on some things that were left vague in the past. So you might see some things here and you might ask, is this new? It's not new. It was in the regulations, but it wasn't clearly defined. So some content today may be a little new to you, but it's not new to the regulations. But we want to start off first with the CAPER and also our objectives. So the objectives of state federal grants office hours. We're going to offer a series of virtual office hours and training sessions for anyone who received federal funding or interested in applying for funds. Once again, this is an opportunity. The first 30 minutes is going to be content. The last 30 minutes is going to be an opportunity for you to ask questions. You can ask questions about the content you received that day or just questions that you saw that you wanted to ask and you never had an opportunity. All questions will be accepted regardless of the topic. If we're not able to answer your questions during office hours, we will follow up with an email and appropriate regulations attached. Office hour sessions are intended, as I mentioned, for subrecipients or anyone who's interested in applying for federal grants. All office hours are recorded. We would prefer that you are at the session so you can ask questions. But if you know someone who didn't make it to the session, it will be recorded. The PowerPoints will be available on our website. Okay, I'm going to ask Vicki if you don't mind working the wait room. So if you have people that come in late, I am asking as you come into the session, please mute your mics because we are recording. I did have to mute some individuals. Hopefully you can unmute yourself if you have a question, but please do us a favor and mute your mic if you have not done so as yet. Today, we will go over the ESG CAPER, and if you have received ESG funds in the past, this is not new content for you. We'll go over the purpose, the form, IDIS expenditure report, which was added to your CAPER this year to make it a little easier. We'll also go over ESG CAPER performance measures, that's something new, and the HOPWA CAPER, which is new. And finally, we will go over HOPWA and ESG disposition requirements, which is also a little new content, with the last remaining 30 minutes for Q&A. All right, Faye McCall will go over the ESG CAPER. If you have questions regarding the ESG CAPER, please wait till the Q&A session after we finish all of our presentation. Faye?
Good morning, everyone. I just want to well, we're actually in the CAPER season right now, so this is the perfect time for us to do a kind of a review for some and then introduce it to some others about the ESG CAPER. Of course, the ESG CAPER is a requirement by HUD. We are required to submit a CAPER to them annually. Actually, the CAPER is those initials stands for the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. And the CAPER really is basically how we report our data to HUD annually. And of course, our data consists of the number of beneficiaries that you all provide services to and the financial expenses that you all expend providing that service. Today, we're going to focus more on the financial portion. Of course, your beneficiary, you all should have, if you have not checked your emails, you should have received an email already to provide your beneficiary numbers. You'll do that through your HMIS. Of course, this screen here kind of give you some of the data points that you all are familiar with. These are the things that we that the HMIS requires for you all to submit for your clients that you serve. These are the data points that you all actually are inputting into your HMIS system. So you should have received an email from Sage. It went out on July 14th. So if you have not submitted your HMIS data through Sage, then go back and look for your email on the 14th of July and submit that through your Sage. And of course, we get a report showing who submitted and who have not. So go back and look for that. The deadline to submit that is July 31st, which is Monday of next week. So, but today our focus is going to be more on the financial part of the CAPER. So the next screen. Okay, for those of you that do the request for cash, you all should be familiar with this particular screen. It's one of the tabs in the request for cash Excel document. HUD requires to submit data in a certain format. So a few years ago, we came up with this particular document in order for us to capture it the way HUD needs for us to submit it to them. Of course, the financial summary report is, I think it's like the third tab on your request for cash. But what's important, even before you get to this and how we need to capture it, your request for cash consolidated support sheet is very important, because that is where you actually select the CAPER category for it to populate to this particular page. Can I go through tomorrow? Can I share my screen so I can kind of show them what that is for those who may not be familiar with it?
Yes.
Okay.
You should be able to.
Okay. What do I do? Do I hit share?
Go, yeah, hit share.
Okay. All right. Yeah, see, I don't know what I'm doing. So, screen, share screen. And let me see if I can pull okay, maybe I need to go to my Windows. Yeah, see, I do not know. All right, Tamara, give me some guidance here. Include computer
Okay, so you go to share screen, it will tell you how much screens you have open. Select one of those screens.
Okay.
You need to have the spread, what you want to share, you need to have that open ahead of time.
Yeah, it's open. Excel Live. See my January. It's not allowing me to select anything once I open my share screen.
And I can share it from my end, and then I'll be able to walk through it. Oh, yeah.
Great.
Maybe it's a thing like that. Maybe 1 second.
Okay. Like I'm stuck.
Okay, tell me when you can see it thing.
Okay, I don't. It's like I've lost access. I can hear you, but I don't. To click, you're stuck. I don't see myself moving.
Can hear you, Faye, and it's on the CAPER screen is on. I don't know what happened to you exactly.
Okay. It's like I don't know what happened if it's gotten stuck. I don't have access. I don't have access to anything, huh?
Can you see the screen?
No.
Okay, I'll go through it then. But we're on page 1 of the request for cash. Can everybody see the request for cash? I just need one person to answer.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so this is the page 1 of request for cash, and what Faye is talking about is the consolidated support sheet. The content on the consolidated support sheet automatically transfer to the request for cash sheet and the caper sheet. Okay, so if you go to shelter and you put in, Faith, let me know if I'm missing something, okay? If you put in the information for your request for cash, this is your awards ID number for the person, shelter line item, maybe you're getting food, caper category, select the caper category and the food. Wherever the vendor is, you can put them there. Or put WM, that's from Walmart, the invoice number. You put that there in the total and amount requested. So as soon as you put down the caper category, it's going to group it in the right area under operations for your caper report. If you do a request for cash and you were told that you selected the wrong caper category, maybe you bought food and you categorized it as rent, and we kick it back, you must also make sure that the caper area is corrected appropriately, because when you do your end of year report, it will go off accepted requests for cash, not the ones that were kicked back and needed to be updated. It's the same thing for every line. If you go to street outreach, if you go to rapid housing, everything will automatically calculate into one of the appropriate acceptable funding areas for HUD. If something was selected, for example, if you go under street outreach and you put down that you were under shelter and you put down that you were paying rental arrears or rent for client rent, can't pay for that under shelter. We kick it back. We need you to go and fix it because it will affect your shelter caper report at the end of the year. The caper report is updated every time you do your request for cash. And as if you don't know, when you go to the cumulative caper, you must only click this once. Okay, there's a bug right now on that, but only click it once. If you click it twice, it will calculate your caper report page 2 different times. If you have an error and you have to fix on your caper report, you can't use the same cumulative financial caper report. You need to go back to one that did not include the error, make the changes, and then hit cumulative. Always double check yourself, because sometimes you might not be sure if you hit the cumulative button, or you might forget before you send it to us. So I recommend that once a month when you do your agency's review, check your cumulative caper. Match that up with the RSCs that we paid to you and make sure that the amounts are correct. Of course, the categories might be different depending on how you do your monitoring and your internal controls, but the total amounts should be the same. If for some reason, when you do your internal reviews and the amount on your cumulative caper does not match up to the amount that's in your bank account for reimbursement, let us know so we can help you determine from now or from then the issue. Because waiting 12 months to figure out what the issue was, it makes it so much more difficult to find out $1 that was misappropriated back in the beginning of the program year. However, if you do your monthly reviews, internal controls, and you catch that, let us know and we can help you get through that process. If there's anything else you need to add for them to see on the RFC form for CAPER? Okay, I can't hear you. You're muted.
My apologies. If you go back to the CAPER FY22 tab,
yes.
If you notice those little red handles in the corner where it gives you what those activities should be. I'm actually in the process of updating it for the 2023 year, and it'll include some additional things that we didn't have on there before, but it's just more of an explanation of what you'll have, what you're selecting. And I think the most important part is some of the agencies have you all do like a payment voucher or payment where the case manager submits something to the finance person, make sure when you submit that you're identifying what CAPA category that goes in, because a lot of times we have agencies that combine the security deposit and the rent. Make sure you separate that out in your consolidated support page. Yeah, because it falls under two different categories. So you can write one check for this particular client. If they have multiple rent payments and security deposit, you can write one check. However, on the consolidated support page, separate it out on two different line items because they are categorized separately. One falls under rental assistance and the other one falls under financial assistance. So on the consolidated support page, if you'll go back to that tab tomorrow, go down to the rent, yeah, and click on, it's a separate, click on the arrow under the CAPA category. Does it click? I'm not seeing anything.
So you can't see, yeah, it's showing.
Okay. Under the CAPA category, you got multiple things. You can hit rental payment, but it also have a separate line item for security deposit. So make sure that you're separating them out based on what it actually is. So, just want to make sure, because sometimes we don't want to have to ask you all to go back and separate it out, redo your request for cash and things like that. So just between the person who's writing the request for the funds and making sure you put what it is, so that your finance person can make sure that they are selecting the right category for that particular payment. What else was it? I think that was it for that. Of course, tomorrow I'll share with you all about how we do the cumulative. That's very important for you all to make sure you, it's helpful at the end of the year where you don't have to go back and try to recapture all of that. So if you do it on the front end, you don't have to worry about trying to go back and redo it on the back end. Of course, our CAPER period is from July 1 of one year to June 30th of the next year. For those of you who are familiar with ESG and been doing it for a few years, you already know that usually covers 2 program years. We're usually going out of one program year into a new program year, so it covers 2 program years. So we are requesting information not from just one program year. We're requesting information that covers July 1 through June 30th. Sometimes you all send us a request for cash in June. We don't pay it until July. So make sure you pay attention to when you actually get reimbursed, because it's going to fall into the year that you're reimbursed in, not necessarily when you actually submit it to us. So make sure you're aware that when we request this information at the end of the fiscal year. I think we can go back to the PowerPoint.
We're on the PowerPoint.
Is that it?
Yep.
I thought we were still in the document. I'm still seeing the Excel document.
Okay, let's try sharing it again. Okay, this should be it.
Okay, all right. This is just a reminder, our CAPER period, and that's for the finances and for the beneficiaries, is July 1 through June 30th. This is an annual event, so it's nothing new. What we do, we're going to go in and make sure that our IDIS report, that's something that we'll do on our end, but just like what we sent you this year, we sent you the actual request for cash that was included in that period. So we appreciate those of you who have submitted your financial reports already. We appreciate you going in, double checking, making sure that those were the items that you all submitted during that period. I think that's it for me.
Yes,
Let's
thank you,
see.
Ms. Faye.
Okay.
Okay, so this is an example of what was added to your CAPA request this year. Just because we wanted to make sure that that the information we sent to HUD is accurate and correct. We do have to, deal with stuff sometimes 2 years later where the CAPAs don't match up to the actual expense. So we want to make have better ways of helping agencies verify the amounts they should include. So the sheet that was added is from IDIS. It includes all of the expenditures that you were reimbursed during that time period. Once again, it's just another measure to guarantee the information is accurate and correct. The ESG CAPA performance measures. This is something new. Usually with the CAPAs, we focus on the SAGE report for data information. HUD now wants us to also include performance performance reports of how clients are doing in the ESG program. What that means is we're going beyond just looking at how much clients you serve as an agency, how much clients was housed in your community, but what outcomes and measurable goals they have achieved. The measurable goals we have for the state is not that measurable due to some wording in our comp plan, but as the year go by, next year we should have something more, hopefully more measurable. However, MHC and COC both agreed for our goal is to prioritize rapid rehousing and increase street outreach where funding and housing is available. Mississippi Home Corporation and the COC both identified the need for more housing and how that is impacting our ability to reach those who are in need. Our main goal is to decrease the number of homeless individuals out there. That's going to always be our goal. That will be measured by the number of individuals moved into permanent housing and the number of individuals that recycle into homelessness after they receive housing services. One of the measures that we will be looking at but not graded will include outcomes like income and housing stability. Right now, we don't have income as an outcome in our current plan, but that will be something we will add into the future. In our SAGE report, if you look at, I don't know if you have access to look at this in SAGE, right? What it does is just asks us, what is the state measurable outcomes? HUD has not been too strict with us with this, right? As of last year, they've been allowing us to give vague information, but by 2023, 2024 reporting year, expect to see more measurable results for our CAPA. So we're not just housing. HUD wants to see how much people you house, sustain housing, how much people exit with some type of income, how much people moved from your shelter into permanent housing, how much people or the time frame from moving into homelessness into permanent housing, things like that. We do recognize that this is a hard to serve population and some people will be housed and go into homelessness. That's understandable. However, that shouldn't be the constant thing, especially if there's more funds somewhere else in the community that can sustain that person a little longer. We want agencies to focus more on good outcomes, but also working with those hardest to serve. What that means is that you might not look at not just giving 3 months of assistance, but giving 6, 12, or additional time, or transitioning them into other programs as appropriate. As more information comes out with the performance measures, agencies will be aware and information will be sent out to all funded agencies. But keep this in mind. We're not just looking at your HMIS performance measures and how much money you spent anymore, but what's happening to the clients that you're serving. Are their outcomes going to be better than they were when they first came into the program? Are you working with them for housing stability? Are you working with them to increase income, even if that's disability income, some form of income? Are you working with them to get connected to food stamps, identification, employment, and things like that? As I mentioned, our measures are available, but we're still working through it. It's not that strict in stone as of yet, but by next year, expect that to be so. How our measures right now is only two things. We're looking at housing measures and income measures. So as I mentioned, for emergency shelters, we're looking at persons that exit to permanent housing. Permanent housing, that's for people who are using rapid rehousing only. We're looking at persons who remain in permanent housing up until the end of the program year or operation year and exit into permanent housing. That means you're not exiting them into homelessness. We're also looking at permanent housing persons who return into homelessness. So if you discharge someone with a good discharge and you discharge them with zero income, it's going to be a 99% chance they're coming back into your program unless you connect them into another program. So look at things like that. We also want to look at income measures. So persons ages 18 and older who had some type of income gain throughout the year, or persons ages 18 through 61 who had increase in earned income. So it don't have to be earned income. It could be disability income. It could be food stamps, wherever you want to count as that person income. But we are also looking at earned income as a way of reporting income measures. HOPWA. Now, I'm not going to go in detail with HOPWA because they changed their whole process this year. If you're a HOPWA funded agency, you know that the CAPA changed this year. Everything moved from the PDF CAPA form to the Excel form. The Excel form is attached to this. When I send out the PowerPoint, if you're looking at applying for HOPWA as a new agency, please look at this Excel form. The content requested in the CAPA for HOPWA is the same as years before. You're looking at every funded activity, the number of clients you served, the resources that you provided, the number of individuals discharged. HOPWA right now does not look at program performance measures. Their main concern is making sure that people who are qualified entered into housing. However, HOPWA is now looking at diagnosis, I guess, improve health outcomes, right? Before, they never looked at that. Once you qualify for HOPWA because you or someone in your household is living with HIV, that was all. But now they are looking at your viral load. They're looking at your CD4. At program entry, you might have had a very high HIV viral load. And if you work with the HOPWA program, you know what I'm talking about. You might have had a viral load of 2,000 of HIV. And you might have a CD4 of very low of 20 something. But by program exit, they want to see that you, or whilst in program, if you decide not to exit that person, they want to see that you got them into healthcare, got them stabilized on their medication, and their health outcome has improved. That means their viral load has decreased and their CD4 has moved up. Once again, if you're not working with the HOPWA program, you might not be sure what I'm talking about. But agencies that work with this population, you are very familiar with the information I just shared. If you have issues with the CAPA for HOPWA and you are required to submit that to me by Monday, please let me know now. HUD did assign TA through Cloudburst to help agencies through the CAPA reporting time. This is the time to ask the questions. HUD wants those HOPWA CAPAs submitted on time. So if you're having difficulties, reach out to me or reach out to your HUD TA. I will be posting the CAPA steps on our website for new agencies. Just 5 basic steps that we recommend HOPWA and ESG agencies to take when they're doing their CAPAs. 1, collect the necessary information. 2, enter the information onto your CAPA form. That's going to be in the box with your request for cash. Double check the information. It's number 3. Number 4, make sure you do the cumulative CAPER calculation. Don't forget to click that button. Number 5, quarterly and annual reports. We are requesting a report from you once a year, but internal controls, you should be checking your CAPER reports at least once a quarter to make sure your information is accurate and correct. And finally, don't forget to ask for help way before the CAPER deadlines. Way before we get to the turn-in dates, ask for help because we want to give HUD the most appropriate and accurate information. All right, that's all we get for the CAPER. Now we're going to move into possibly some new content for agencies, disposition requirements. You might have thought that this is something that's not required, but apparently it's required for all federal funded programs, disposition requirements. To find the regulations on disposition, you won't be looking at the ESG or the HOPWA regulations. You'll be looking at HUD 24 CFR 200. That's going to be their financial federal regulations for funded agencies and entities. Once again, that's going to be 24 CFR 200, Part 313 or Part 439. And it's called disposition requirements or equipment and furnishing purchased with federal funds. What should you do? Oh, do you have to do anything at all? I'm going to first start off with reading some content, and then we'll go into how you determine if you have to comply with if you have to do anything extra. Disposition requirements, equipment, 24 CFR 313. This is under Part 200. State subrecipients, that's y'all, must use, manage, and dispose of equipment acquired under a federal award by the state in accordance with the state regulations as follows. And our regulations is HUD regulations. We literally just copied and pasted. Equipment must be used by the non-federal entity, once again, y'all, in the program or project for which it was acquired as long as it's needed, whether or not the project or program continues to be supported by the federal award, and the non-federal entity must not encumber the property without prior approval by federal award agencies. In other words, if you purchase something with federal funds, you can't decide on your own accord to use that for something completely different. You must let us know what you're going to do with that equipment. The federal awarding agencies may require the submission of a applicable comment form for equipment, which you will see in the next couple of slides. When no longer needed for the original program or project, the equipment may be used for other activities supported by federal awarding agency. Activities under the federal award from the federal awarding agency which funded the original program or project. So that's one way. Also, you must consider activities under federal awards from other federal awarding agencies. This includes consolidated equipment for information technology system. And for us, that'll be more so our HMIS systems. So what is the requirements? First of all, your disposition requirement must be met. Whether it's being met because it's showing that you don't need to do it, or it's being met and you have other steps to do it, we'll walk you through that process. If disposition is required, that's the first thing you must do. Determine that the things, the equipment, the property that you purchase, does it require you to go through a full disposition process? How do we determine that? Let's ask the following question. Disposition not required when the property or equipment in this order of priority. First, is it still needed for the original project or program? For example, if you're an ESG/CV agency, and that's going away. If you purchase something, is that going to be used for ESG? If you purchase something for your shelters, is it still going to be used for the shelter in a different federal funded project? Number 2, is it needed for other activities supported by HUD? Are you going to, if you purchase something under ESG and you don't have ESG funds, then why are you going to use it under HUD? Are you going to HOPWA? Are you going to use it for COC activities? Or number 3, is it needed for other federally sponsored activities? In other words, wherever you purchase, if you do not, or if you still have that activity, will it still be used for some federal activity similar to what you first purchased it for? Is it going to go from ESG to HOPWA to COC? Is it going to stay with ESG? Is it going to be used for something completely different? You must answer that question. Subrecipients must make a documented determination of whether disposition is required. Agencies must add disposition to their policy and procedures. Okay, so once you determine what's happening with your equipment, or if you have those equipment that will stay with your agencies, and you determine, hey, I purchased some stuff, you need to check your policies and procedures and add disposition to it if you did not have it before. You still must also see what else did I must do. I purchased something. I purchased, let me say, I purchased a used car. It cost me $15,000. But I still want to use this car for my shelter. So I said yes to that and yes to that. So what's next? When the equipment is no longer needed for the organization, project, or program, or for other activities supported by HUD or other federal sponsored activities, disposition requirements are determined based on the value. So if you already determine that you're going to use that specific equipment for your project, regardless of not having the funds no more, verify with us that you will keep that item and it's going to continue to be used in your project for those activities for some other federal program. And that's it. Now, if you decided that you might want to not use it for that activity no more, and you still need to know, do I do disposition? Now you look at the cost, okay? So first you said, I don't want to keep it for my projects no more. I want to get rid of it. Let's look at the cost. For equipment or asset with current per unit fair market value under $5,000, the agency may dispose of the equipment as they see fit. Look at the depreciation. I purchased a used truck back in the beginning of COVID for $15,000. I use that truck every single day for the shelter to help people go back and forth. I decided that I do not want to keep that under my federal programs because it's a hazard to everybody's health. When I look at the depreciation value of my $15,000 truck, it's worth about $2,000, so I can get rid of it as I see fit. But if it's worth more than $5,000, then you have next steps you must do. For equipment or asset, there's currently per unit fair market value in excess of $5,000. Disposition instruction form, or you must inform your local HUD field office for further guidance. So that's not just us. After you tell us, we will get our local field office involved, and they will tell you what next steps you must do. We need to know what was purchased. So every program that came through Mississippi Home Corporation, whether it's HOPWA, whether it's CV, whether it's ESG, you will get this form. It will be on our website. Fill it out. Help us determine if disposition is required. Once again, we're looking at your current fair market value. If your current fair market value is going to be less than $5,000, we just need to document that and you can dispose of it as needed. If the value is more than $5,000 and you want to keep it with your projects, then you just let us know and you continue to use it. But if it's more than $5,000, you don't want to keep it anymore, you want to dispose of it, you want to sell it, you must let us know. We must document it so we work with our local field office on next steps for those specific equipment items. All right, we are with Q&A, and I'm sorry we went over, so we don't have 30 minutes for Q&A, but we do have some time. Any questions? Any questions about the caper? I'm also looking at the chat. If you don't want to announce your questions, you can put your questions in the chat. Any questions about disposition requirements? Good. Seems like we don't have any questions just about any of your federal grants that you're currently working with or working on through Mississippi Home Corporation. Client questions, program questions, regulation questions. All right. Well, I have nothing. Ms. Faye, do you have anything else you want to add?
Just a reminder that the CAPER is due through SAGE on July 31st. And I think the financial CAPER is due, August 4th? Is that I think that's what you had, the email for the financial CAPER? I think it was
August 4th. Okay, that might be right. Okay.
Yeah.
I
think so.
I have to look at my email and to remind me. We have a couple of CAPERs going
just
out.
a reminder. Yeah, just
If you're an ESG CV funded agency, just a reminder, the grant ends September 30th. That means we need your last RSC to us before that. And if you have funds that you're unable to expend, let us know so we can move that to agencies who are in need of extra funds right now. You cannot pay for anything in advance. So it's not a good idea if you have excess money to go ahead and pay for your client's rents for 3 months. That's not a good use of funds and it's not allowed in the regulations. So meet with me or Ms. Faye or with Vicky or Sharonda if we need to talk about CV funds that you would like to move to other agencies so we could get that done before the deadline for expending these funds. Also, you will be seeing the disposition form in your email and on our website. As you work with closing out your grants, complete this form. Let us know what was purchased. Let us see if disposition is going to be required or if you're going to continue to use it for your agency or if it's something that needs to be disposed of and we need to connect you to our local field office. We want to make sure that everything is documented appropriately in our files and in your files. If you have any questions later on, feel free to reach out to us. We will be having our office hours every single month. We'll be last Thursday of the month. We look forward to meeting with you again next time. Thank you all and have a wonderful day.